Hello everyone, my name is Jan Buckler and I would like to talk to you about an app I wrote for the Mac, iPhone, iPad that allows you to look up things in the Talmud, Rashi, Tosfos, the Tanach, many other sources that would be interesting for people who are learning. So before I tell you about it, let me tell you about a little bit about the motivation for doing this. So I've been working for computers for many years, and about 4 years back I was playing around with a computer and I found out that it was easier to mix Hebrew and English in an editor that I like. And so I tried to come up with a way that I could put in a couple of words, and as I learn a word I would add it to the list so that I could look up definitions that I captured myself. Soon that grew into needing a bigger list, and I had the idea that if I typed in the Jastrow dictionary, 1700 pages, that I could use that list in order to maybe help me define words that I was seeing in the Talmud, because I didn't go to yeshiva, so my background, I didn't have such a great vocabulary, even though I've been learning Daf Yomi for many years. So as I typed in the Jastrow, I figured out that I was able to take a page of the Talmud and go word and programmatically take each page and look it up in Jastrow. And I saw that I needed some more words, and so I was typing in words and doing things, and then turned around and pretty soon I had the entire Shas in my program that I could access it. And then I said, well, wait about Rashi and Tosfos and could do with that. So it became a program that I was able to look up whole sections of words. For example, when I got to Rashi, I didn't want to have to type in the Dibur Maskil, so I captured all the Dibur Maskils, and then I asked myself, what page do I want to look at in the Talmud, and was able to come up with a quick way to see all the Dibur Maskils in Rashi for that Amud, and then to select one and have it show me the Dibur Maskil in Rashi's commentary, and have that all go to my lookup engine so that I could see what the results were. And then that grew into Tosfos and the searching, and then I talked to some people and they said, wow, it'd be great if you had Beis Yosef, and pretty soon it was doing other things and adding more capabilities to it. And I always was interested in Ain Mishpat Ner Mitzvah, but I found it difficult because sometimes you could have a big stack of Ain Mishpat Ner Mitzvahs on an Amud, and it would be difficult to figure out which one you had to look up. So I learned that it goes to the script letter, the superscript letter in the text. But even then, let's say that it was pointing to Os Lamed, and Os Lamed might be pretty far down in the stack, of course, because it starts with letter Aleph, and then you look at Lamed, and then there was the Shums. So now it's like Ibid, so you have to work back your way up the stack till you figure out what it is. And then, of course, you go to your Svarim Shank, and by the time you get there, if you're like me, you forgot about what it is that you had to capture, had to get. So therefore, you go back to your Gematria again, look it up again, do it again. So I tried to come up with a computer that I could just tell what Amud I'm on, and tell what Os of the Ain Mishpat Ner Mitzvah, and then show me the Rambam, show me the Torah, the Shulchan Aruch, and the Smag, and then I would not be lazy and I would actually look at it, and so it would be a time savings. I also like Gematria, I like the numbers, so I put in some capabilities to give a Gematria of a string that I typed in and make it so that I could add to the string or subtract the string any fixed numbers that I wanted, so maybe like add 18 or add 26 for Yud K Vav K, things like that. And then I figured out a way to easily to do a search through Chumash, Navi, or Suvim individually and find any strings in those places that have the same Gematria as the target string that I type in. So try to do some fun things, try to make it easy. I realized early on that because of the capabilities that I was building in, it would be a little bit difficult to have the traditional website approach where you have a lot of buttons and input strings, whatever. So I went back to old school where we used to type commands on a command line and figured out a way that you could, excuse me, type the commands, and that way it made it more efficient, because once you type a command, let's say you wanted to search the blot for something Orla, and then you decide you want to search for something else, you can just repeat that command line, backspace over Orla, and type in your new search string, and off you go. While I'm on the subject, the capability to type in Hebrew into an iPad or iPhone, I found to be pretty easy, because you can just click the language button. Truthfully, even though I've had Macs for so many years, I'm not sure how to do it there, and instead there's a language selector up in the top bar, and I found I was too lazy to go keep pressing the language selector every time I wanted to enter Hebrew, so I made it a way that you can use something that I call reverse English and type English letters instead of Hebrew letters. So for example, you want to have put in a lamed, you can type a L, things like that. And there's many different systems that are around. The Mac has something, and Dafka Writer has something, and there's the Hebrew keyboard. But I've been programming a long time, so I've been using this with a system called LaTeX. So I made my own, where the regular letters that sound similar to the Hebrew letters are used, but then, for example, when you have a shin, the letter S has already been used for samach, so therefore you go to a capital. The letter ches, hey comes before that, so the natural H is for a letter hey, and shifted H would be for a ches. Things like that. So I wrote a manual. It's actually 100 pages long, that explains the program and explains the capabilities. I know nobody's probably going to read it, so I also came up with a help feature in the program and a tour feature, T-O-U-R, not to be confused with T-U-R for the tour, but a tour, T-O-U-R, of each command, and it gives you command examples for display and command examples for searching, and helpful tips along the way. So I try to organize in a way that somebody can first open the program, they see it says type help or type a command, and if they type help, then they get examples of the commands, and it tells them how to go to the tour function and be able to display the different commands. So even without reading the manual, hopefully users will be able to start getting something out of the program right away. I created a website, 22Lookup.net, and I have examples there, and there'll be a contact form so in case people have questions. But in the beginning it might be a little challenging, because I wrote the program on my own, and with help, of course, from a group to help do the framework. There's a group called Moontech. I'll talk about them later, but I basically wrote the program, conceived the program, implemented the program pretty much on my own. And so I have a working schedule and family responsibilities, so I can't guarantee that I'm going to be available every second in order to answer user questions, but hopefully we'll get a number of people who are interested in the program, and maybe some will volunteer their time and be able to answer questions. So I'll try to set a forum or a bulletin board up that will allow people to ask questions in case they don't understand something, and certainly there'll be a contact form if they find mistakes that they could write in so that I can correct things for the next version. So people have asked me, why didn't I do it on Windows, and why didn't I do it on Android, even though I have an Android phone? And the reason is that my programming goes back to the time that I was, I don't know, probably 13 and 14, somewhere in there. And I always have programmed under a Unix environment. Today, similar to a Linux environment, and the Mac came from a Linux environment. So my affinity to programming is pretty much in those avenues, and I really did not like programming under a Microsoft environment. So my tendencies were to program for Apple products. So it just worked out that way. And in case there's someone out there who is interested in the program, is interested in converting it to to a Windows-based program, then I'd be happy to talk to them. Otherwise, along the line, if users are interested and want to take up a collection to cover the cost of migrating the software to Windows, then I'd be happy to consider that also. and Android pretty much the same thing. So we'll start in the Apple family of products and see where the program goes from that. The program is free, at least for the first year for sure. I don't know what's going to happen after that, but the idea is that I'm using some things that are from different sites, like for example HebrewBooks.org and by Safaria, and their licensing clearly states that whatever you use from them cannot be part of any paid kind of software. So let's have the first year be a gift to Klal Yisrael maybe, and if the program is liked and it's used and people are signing up for the program. Now, even though the program is free in the Apple Store, it requires a license just to protect my IP. So therefore, the license process requires the internet, and the download, of course, from the Apple Store requires the internet. But then once it's licensed, then the internet's no longer required for the program. So that means that it works on the airplane while you're flying, or if you're in the subway and you're learning, and you need to see it Surah Daf, then we could pull up that, or any other kind of place you might be where there's no internet allowed. I'm hoping that the capability of 22Lookup will be such that it will be able to be used in many different places. Okay, so my plan for the videos is to conduct different videos to help identify different tips and tricks and make it easier for use. Some people learn from a manual, some people learn from just trying things out, some people want to see a video that will help them understand what it is that the program does. So this is the introductory video, and I will try to make some videos that go along with some of the features, especially to explain the screen, how the screen works, because I have a what looks like a browser window and a command typing window, and it has some different features built in that I would like to tell you about. So, okay, so we'll end this video here, and I encourage you to look at other videos as well to see what's going on, and hopefully the 22Lookup app will be out shortly. The CM is coming up today, Sunday. The CM is on Wednesday, and I'm hoping that the Apple Store has the Mac version and the iOS version by the time of the CM. So I'm working hard to get that out, and please send your comments in via the contact form on 22lookup.net. You'll see contact is one of the buttons up near the top, and I'll have that all set up by the CM so that you can let me know how your initial impressions of the program are, and if you have any good suggestions, I'd be happy to take them. So all the best, and looking forward to seeing you at the CM, and enjoy your learning. Thank you.